I'm Andrew Phay. I work for the Whatcom Conservation District. I'm the GIS tech and IT person. I'm also in charge of the ArcGIS Online account for the state, essentially. And I'm here to talk about what's the latest GIS stuff and answer questions. Essentially, this is just a forum to ask questions, get answers, that kind of stuff. And I'm just going to go through this is the same slide deck I had last year and the year before. I've updated some stuff, obviously, but it's just kind of an update, and we can do side tangents anytime you want, and just ask a question. If you have an issue in your district and you want it solved, or a big question, feel free to ask. Or if it's not in this class, you can do it from just give me a call and I can talk over it. And it looks like we have Deanna and Joe. Hi guys. We got two other people online. Hopefully they can hear me. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. Let me know if you want me to repeat questions that other people ask. Okay, some of the stuff we're going to go over today is listed here, and I'm not going to read them all out. You can read the board, and we'll go through them anyways. So, and hopefully we don't lose connection like we did last time. So ArcMap, everyone's probably used ArcMap, and some of you probably are still using ArcMap. It is going away. We currently have 10.8.2. There is a 10.9 out there, and people say, oh yeah, why can't I use 10.9? That is for ArcGIS server. I think it's for server. It's not for ArcMap. They're not, and you also have to download it through the NRCS account on Box. Excuse me, I got hiccups. So the license file that you will get from NRCS or me, or you probably have it in your district already somewhere, whether you can find it or not, who knows. That has to be used with the stuff we download from the NRCS box. Same with ArcGIS Pro. We have to get it through Box, or it just won't work correctly with all the licensing we have because we get it through the USDA. This was a quote on ESRI's website. Current release is 8.2, and it's going to stop support, which doesn't mean much, in 2024. You'll still be able to use it, but they're not doing any updates, and they currently have no plans to do any updates. The only reason that they would do updates is some of the really big companies out there say, hey, we want updates to this, we want fixes, because we're still using it in an enterprise system. But most of them have gone to ArcGIS Online and servers, so they're not going to be updating it anytime soon, or even there's no plans for it. So the best bet is to go over to start learning Pro. Bobby Birkin, Robert, is the state contact to get the license files and that kind of stuff. And they'll also send you a Excel file so you can list out the people who are using it and the machines and all that kind of stuff, so they can keep track of each computer that's running ArcMap. And we have ArcMap on every single computer. And if you go to any GIS conferences, most people will only have ArcMap and none of the extensions. And you got to remember that you've got all the extensions for ArcMap and that kind of stuff. So some of them don't have that ability to get all those extensions. We have a sweet deal, and we can put it on as many machines as we want. And that is amazing, because before we had that deal, Whatcom, my district, we had to shell out, I think it was back then, it was like $1,500 for ArcMap. And then like a year and a half later, the agreement came in. It's like, oh, we can have and that was just one license. Now we can have it on all our computers. And that was very, very nice. And then more districts started using ArcMap because you can. ArcGIS Pro, that is a replacement for ArcMap. As many of you know, the latest version is 3.1. Last time I checked, which was, I think, last week. But the great thing about ArcGIS Pro is that it does auto updates. When you open it, it says, we have an update for you. And you hit update and it updates. Instead of ArcMap, you have to download the latest version and reinstall over it. At least you don't have to uninstall ArcMap and then reinstall another one like you used to. But yeah, so just to give you a little bit of background, the biggest difference between ArcMap and ArcGIS Pro, ArcMap was built on a one processor system. And your phones have multi-processors in them. So that gives you an understanding of how old it is. So ArcGIS Pro is built on a multi-processor setup. So it can use multi-processors for all of its calculations. So it can be doing one calculation over here or a tool over there and another tool over here. ArcMap can't do that. And ArcMap is also only 32 bits, whereas ArcGIS Pro is 64-bit. So it runs better in a lot of respects, not everything. I still do stuff on ArcMap that I cannot get done on Pro. And Cynthia's in my district as well. We have one little tool that I have to find some time to actually move it over to Pro because she can't put it on her new Windows 11 Surface with Office 64 because we need Office 32 on it, as in 32-bit versus 64-bit, because ArcMap won't read the 64 stuff. So there's still issues, converting over and stuff. But in general, unless you have something very specific, the thing is you can install both in the same machine. You can run them both. I run both at the same time all the time. But if you want to if you want to be up to date and have multiple layouts at the same time and have a nice ribbon and all that kind of stuff, it's just so much easier doing it in Arc Pro. But you have to go through that learning process because they are quite a bit different. I think my favorite is you getting back layouts. In ArcView, this is prior to ArcMap, you can do as many layouts as you want. That's the actual physical print map that you're gonna print out. In ArcMap, you have one. You would have to open a whole nother map to be able to create another layout. Arc Pro, I can have as many layouts as I want, and that is awesome because I can have templates I can have 4 tabs, one for a letter portrait, one for a tabloid portrait, and one for, I can have multiple different templates for each one, and whatever that farm plan I'm creating, whatever fits the best, I can open that template, shut down the rest of the layouts and just use that template. And I don't have to bring it in, move things around or anything like that. It's all there ready for me to go, ready to go for me. So when you're installing Pro, you will need .NET 6 or later. And you'll get a error if you don't have that, and you have to go get it. And if you have issues going to get it, let me know and I'll send you the link to it. We went over that. You can get to ArcGIS Online with ArcMap, but it's clunky. It's not that great when you're using your own data and trying to edit and doing all that, because you actually have to download the data, edit it on your machine and republish it. Versus ArcGIS Pro, you just edit it and it's being edited live on ArcGIS Online, which comes in very handy.
Is there a way to save that raw data?
What do you mean?
For editing?
Before editing?
Like
Yeah.
if you're editing, like if I want to copy of just the
Yeah, you just export it to another day. Yeah.
Save it.
Yep. It's actually a good idea. Always, when you're doing lots of editing like that, always save and a backup copy somewhere, especially if you're working with online stuff, because there's no backup system there. Like your internal servers are probably backing up, doing backups every night kind of thing. ArcGIS Online, I do backups maybe once every 6 months because I don't have the space to do 240 people's data all at once kind of thing. And it takes, like, last time I checked, it was 10 hours to do a backup. And it's not a perfect backup. It's just backing up your layers, the feature layers on there. It's not even backing up the maps or anything like that. There's no good backups for that. So be aware of that for ArcGIS Online. But yeah, always make archives and backups before you do any major editing on your data. I learned that in college 25 years ago. And it's like, okay, I'm going to do this big backup. I'm going to just put a date on the end. That's my backup in case something really goes wrong. And it saved my life a couple of times, or I should say it saved hours worth of work trying to recreate it. That's just something I started doing in college, and I keep doing it now. But it's not just for GIS. I do that for Word, Excel, Access, anything. I like to make backups, and it's very nice. Okay. As I said, it needs a AGOL account. And if you need one, give me a call and we will bill your district. Usually, well, we still haven't billed the districts for this year's because we're kind of busy. But we'll bill them once a year, starting in, I think, February. I'll take the list, and those users will bill everyone for that. And it's not too expensive unless you house a ton of data on ArcGIS Online. Like, I think even then, I think I'm the fifth person down in the list for space. And I think we spend like $700 a year this year. And can you imagine? I've been using it for 9 years now, 10 years. And I'm only fifth. There are some districts that have more data on there, and they're spending more money. But if you don't have any data on there, you're going to spend like $12 a year, maybe. But you can rack up data really quick if you start throwing up layer packages and map packages and all stuff that you really don't need. Only put what you need up on ArcGIS Online, not all the extra stuff. Don't put your county's parcel layer up there unless you don't have access to it, unless your county doesn't already have it up there. Most of the data, the general data like soils, transportation, parcels, that kind of stuff is already up on ArcGIS Online or up in the internet somewhere that you can drag down and use. So don't put it up in our ArcGIS Online account unless your county doesn't have it already up there. And you can find that out by usually just going to their website and say Whatcom GIS, and then you find their dashboard of GIS data. Yeah, I kind of went off on a tangent there. Yeah, sorry. ArcGIS Online. ArcGIS Online is sharing maps, data with public. The security features of ArcGIS Online, if you want to share your stuff with multiple people without it being public, is groups. So you have, for your district, you have your district is a group, and then everyone in that group can see that data. That's kind of how we do it. Sorry, I don't have printouts. I forgot to print all these out. But I will, if I can, add these to the videos that we post. Actually, you could probably just download what we put up last year. Yeah, so we came across a problem. They came out with a new map viewer 2 years ago, I think. And people are still slowly going over to it. We have found that if you're dealing with the web web app developer, web app something, you have to use the old map viewer because some things don't come across correctly. And we had that with one of our projects, our water quality project. Because they switched over to the new viewer, it wasn't, the pop-ups and a couple other things were not displaying correctly. So we had to switch back to the old viewer, the old map viewer, and it worked perfectly. So just a little tip there. The web app builder, yeah. That I find the web app builder to be the easiest one to build an app. So you build an app, a map with your data and stuff, and then you use the web app developer, the web app builder, to actually build an app that will run on any mobile device or browser or anything like that. It's relatively easy. The new version of this is the experience builder. That's their new version of the web app builder. And it's a little bit more complicated to build, but it has more features in it. So you can really get down into the nitty gritty now with it. And then a lot of districts will collect field data. And we used to use collector, and now it's field maps. And you can send people out with field maps and collect lots and lots of data. But the key to that is setting up the framework of that data before they go out in the field. So have the fields correctly labeled, have everything done before they go out in the field. Because if they go out in the field, collect data, and they say, oh, we don't want it in this, we want this and this and this, you have to rebuild some of that. And it can be a pain in the butt to get everything correct again. So prior planning. What was that?
So you can now navigate too.
Oh, yes. Oh, contact Andrew again. That's like twice on here already. Yeah, field maps. It's a nice little app. I actually don't use it that much. I build it for other people to use. I just don't use it that much. But you can go into it and build how the people input the data. And you can make sure that there's a drop down so they only choose that. They only have a choice of things instead of someone putting in field 1, another one putting F1, another one putting fields 1. You can limit what they can put in. Watersheds is really handy for that. Yep. Oh, combines collector, tracker, and explorer. That was annoying, having all three of those, having to open. Which one will it work better in? Now it's just fields. So that was retired 2 years ago now, year and a half ago. Better organization and smart forms, which means dynamic questions. So if you ask one question, whether or not that choice is done, it will ask a different question depending on that choice. So if I answer no, it's going to ask why, and then if I ask yes, it'll ask please explain or something like that. It'll just dynamically know what to do, and that's the same with Survey 123. Yeah, we found out it only runs on iOS 15 plus. So all of our old iPads, it does not run, which is annoying. Which we ran into that problem, but then the person just opened their cell phone and it worked because they have a newer phone than our iPads. Speaking of Survey 123, Survey 123 is, imagine this is SurveyMonkey with geographical locations. That's the best definition most people get. It's like SurveyMonkey with geolocations on it. And it is really handy if you're going out in the field and you need points. You can also do polygons and lines, but this is for when you're out there and you want to fill out a form about something and take the point line polygon as well. People do it for surveys. We do it for, we add on to it for our, what is that? Crop mapping sometimes. We've done it, just done a field, a windshield survey going around, hit it in our car, hitting a point, putting in what livestock they see in the field. And it just goes right into ArcGIS Online. And when they're all done, they can see every day where they've been and then where they need to go. And when they're all done, we can download that data and store it away. Yeah, it's worked with polygons and lines for a few years now. You can build it online. The easiest way to do it is build it online. But if you want more dynamic use out of it, like if this question is this question, this happens, this calculation happens, you need to download it to the Survey123 creator, something like that, to your desktop. And essentially it downloads that survey and builds a Excel sheet, which is crazy in itself when I figured this out. But with that Excel sheet, you can get really nitty gritty with everything. Whereas you can't do it as easily you can't do it at all. Some of those features, you can't do it all online. They've been slowly adding some of those features into the online, but still people have to get into that Excel file and do those manipulations. And then they take that Excel file and republish it with that same name and everything. It just overwrites what's there. And then you have your Survey123. Now, this also has an app for your phone, so you can actually take it offline. If you don't have to worry about online, offline, they have cell data coverage, then you can just go through the browser. You open the browser and it does it. But if you need to go offline, or you might be offline, then you need to download the app, install that, and it downloads the survey, has it on the app, and you can go wherever you want and survey it. And when you come back into data cell reception, then it uploads it. Yep. If they have a browser, they can do it.
Does that manually or automatically upload, or do you have to manually push it?
I don't recall, actually. It might be a manual process, but I'm sure if you're going out, you just hit it at the end of the day when you come in, kind of thing.
Can I back up to the field maps?
Yes.
You said iOS, can it open on it?
It depends. Yes, it can. It depends on how old the Android is. Most of our phones that are in this room today will open it perfectly fine, because nobody has 6-7-year-old phones. Usually there's always a holdout. But yeah, usually people have 2, 3, 4-year-old phones, and all of those will work fine. Story maps. Anyone done any story maps before?
Yeah,
Yep. Story maps are fun. They can be very, very good to get the ideas and stories and information across to your user. They tell a story using maps, text, and images. You can input YouTube videos, you can input images, you can input maps, you can input Survey123s, you can input a whole bunch of different things on it. And as you go through it, it scrolls with you. So as you scroll through the story map, different maps come up, different images come up. It's really quite interesting. Let's see if this one still works. Yeah, so as you scroll through, things change, maps come up. Hey, look, it's our map. And then you have links in it and pictures. And this is just one version. There's tons of different types of story maps out there. Some that have tabs, some that are like really, really intricate. But one thing I would suggest is, if you're going to build something and spend the time building this, that you have the money to upkeep it. Because we ran into this problem. We built that story map, And then nobody really wants to keep it up anymore because it's just kind of out of date. So just be aware, 2 or 3 years down the line, is someone going to be here to keep that up, or is it just going to be orphaned out there?
When you say upkeep, is it similar to like a web page where you like update dates and things like that, or is
Yeah.
there some routine stuff?
No, it's like you go into it every once in a while and make sure the maps still work, the images are still there, the YouTube videos are still that kind of stuff. Because especially if you're using other people's data from different sources, those servers go offline or change names or whatever. So yeah, exactly. So you have to keep up with it and check it every once in a while. And we kind of haven't done that as much as we should. Yeah.
Is this in our application you like download or
Yep.
is it? Okay.
So let's. Nope, Alt tab. So in ArcGIS Online, all those apps you can get to from here. So you can get to ArcGIS Online, obviously, but here you have Survey 123, ArcGIS Story Maps, the old map viewer, and some of these other things. Like you can build a hub, experience builder, field map designer. Ooh, that's new. I've never seen that before. So you can design your field map so it'll actually work, because there's a lot of times, at least in the past, you design this map and I want to put it into field maps. Where is it? And you can't find it because some data layer on that field map is not available in field maps because it hasn't been shared correctly, or it's not editable or something like that. And then you have to go sleuthing through everything to actually find it. So maybe I'm hoping that will help with that. Yeah, tangent, sorry. Any questions on story maps? What time is this? Ends at 2:30, right?
I guess from a say like, because I feel like story maps are pretty involved right now. There's so
Yep.
many cool things to do about
Yep.
or with them. Like from a rudimentary GIS user perspective, how easy is it to work your way up to being able to build one? Is this something that you need specialized training for?
No,
or-
actually, I can build one. Yeah, I can build one in like 2-3 minutes.
Oh,
It's getting that intricate stuff down. It's just like any publishing document or a book. You can build one real quick. You can write a book nowadays with ChatGPT. You can write it in like 10 minutes, but it's all that intricate stuff. Oh, let's make this look this way. Let's bring in this data over here. That's what makes it more difficult. And then the way you want it to look as you scroll through it. That's what takes a lot of time. The actual adding in and stuff, not very difficult. It's the actual, making it look the way you want. That's what takes a lot of time.
It's the meat.
Yes. Yes. Because, I've done one of these, I think I did about 4 or 5 years ago, how to make a story map. And I literally built a story map in front of everyone in one of these classes. But I also had all the images and all the text. I had that ready to go, and I built a story map. And you don't actually have to have any maps in a story map. No maps whatsoever. It could be all text because it flows really nice, especially they're built so they can be on mobile devices. So you can flow on a mobile device really, really nicely. And they're nice to look at if you want to get information across, and it doesn't need to have a map.
But speaking from experience, if you do have a map, you're really.
Go.
I would find it easier.
Really? There you go.
I never had to do anything.
Like with pre-assembled, like the layers are already there, you just
Like,
add them.
it's just, it's way easier for me to find the layers I want, or edit however. I didn't want to do Juniper, unfortunately, and so I had it. And it was really, I did it several times. And it was way easier.
I will suggest though, if you are building maps like that, all that data you're bringing in, that goes, if you're bringing in data, if you're attaching images to that story map, that will cause you to use more data. So if you're doing something like that, it's better to like throw that image or video or whatever the big ticket items are on there, the big megabytes, gigabytes, whatever, throw them on a web server or a Dropbox or something like that, and then link them to it. And it's getting them from a separate data source, but it shows up on the story map perfectly fine. I would suggest that because I've seen story maps when they're done with them, they're like gigabytes in size, and you're paying $500 a year for that, for all that stuff. I'm just pulling that out of my ass. I don't know if that's how much it costs, but it can cost quite a bit. On that note, we had one person throw up a map package up on ArcGIS Online, and a map package is that entire map. Everything in it is packaged so someone else can open that map package, right? They threw that whole map package up there. It had everything, rivers, streams, transportation, everything. And it was like, I think it was like 7 gigabytes worth of data. And it was like, yeah, you shouldn't have that up there. Just, take it down and put what you need, unless you really want to pay for that. And then we had another person, I got in his case about this. Oh, he needed to share a 40 gigabyte file with someone, and he put it up on ArcGIS Online. And then he forgot about it. It was up there for 7 months, and it ended up costing us, I think, $700-800 because he was sharing it with one person. It's not like a live data or anything. It's like transferring it with Dropbox, but he didn't have a Dropbox account, but he did have an ArcGIS Online account. I would have been totally fine with that. He put it up there, they shared it, and he took it right back down. I would have been totally fine with that, but he left it up there. Luckily at that time, it was a commission person. Luckily at that time, they were paying for the subscriptions. So I couldn't get on his case too much. Okay. Dashboards are another thing that you can use in ArcGIS Online. It can be really nice to have a dashboard. I still haven't found a reason to have a dashboard because we were thinking about it for our water quality data, but it's like, what would we do with it? We already have a map that has everything on it. But some of the dashboard stuff, this is COVID, beginning of COVID in, I think, who did this? It was one of the big colleges. No, one of the big hospital colleges back east. They put this up, and for years, literally, people would reference this. And it's just data taken and then made look nice. And it's a great way to analyze data quickly and get it out to out to the public. Yeah, on the right, this is our map. We did create one, but it was, we never really used it too much. Yes.
So we have a grant to create a dashboard.
Oh, okay.
On the water quality data, and I mean, like, the usefulness of that will be to do calculations like seasonal geomeans or not even monthly geomeans, but try to display it. Like right now, we just have our data on the map, so geographically you can see where the hotspots are. But
So do more analysis.
yeah, more analysis.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really hopeful that this can be the tool.
I think we need, we'll get into it. I'll show you what I think we need to do. I think we've talked about it, but I'll get into it a little bit more. Experience Builder, we've already talked about this. It's the update to Web App Builder. This is Drone to Map and Site Scan. Site Scan is Drone to Map needs an AGOL account processing only. That's an app that you have on your desktop. So you throw all the aerial photos that your drone has taken, and you throw it into Drone to Map, and it crunches all that and brings out a 3D map and a route that you took and all that kind of stuff. It does in the ESRI environment what there's a couple other services out there that will do it for you. this is in the ESRI environment and kicks out all the stuff that you need. Essentially, it's really pretty powerful, but it is not free. It's $1,400 a year last time I checked, and no districts have kicked up to $1,400. And if a district in a grant kicks out that $1,400 for drawing a map, all the rest of us could use it one at a time because it's a license to the org. And if we actually eventually, if we got enough people, we could add it into our, yearly costs for the ArcGIS Online account, but they did not go for that this year.
Do you have a sense for how many districts are either already have or are in development of a program?
There's probably about 6 or 7 out there that are using it. A lot of them will have the drones, but they don't have a program. Spokane did for a while. I think there's pseudo. Skagit is big into it with Nick. He does forestry stuff. If you have questions about drone, he's the guy to go to. But we found something that skirts around drone to map using the Google's online data servers. I can't remember what it's called, but essentially he figured out through some tutorials, and then I added on to it. You essentially create a server, a small server online, throw in all your aerial photos, it crunches the numbers, kicks out the data, and then you shut down that server. It costs you like 3 cents, something like that. And if you start up the first time you start up this account, you get like $300 off the bat for like 3 months or 9 months or something like that, that you can go through, just play with. I've already gone through that, but yeah, I did I recorded me doing it. So I actually have a YouTube video. I think that's YouTube, or at least I have a video that actually I went through and recorded it so I could do it years later if I wanted to. So it kind of skirts around this using Open Drone or Drone Open or something of that sort. But this would allow you to do it integrated into the ESRI environment, and it all works together kind of thing. And then $1,400 site scan is planning out your flights. That's their version of that. And there's lots of them out there. I cannot remember the other one out there that I've used. You can go online and there's one out there. Let's not get into drone stuff. But if you want to talk drones, I don't use them all, but I've kept up on it, and I work with Nick on some of his stuff, and I can point you in the right direction. If you do want to do a drone program. And there's a lot, it's not just let's buy a drone and go out and do it. No, it's definitely not that, because you need a license. You need hard drive space. Skagit bought a Diskstation that houses 32 terabytes worth of data just to house his aerial photography. Yeah, it gets really, really big, really, really quick, because you're taking hundreds, if not thousands, of images every flight that you're doing, or sometimes video. So it's not as easy as just going out and buying a $500 drone and taking photos. It can be if you really wanted to, but in general, not so much.
Yeah, of course, years or so ago, and
Yep.
said he estimated about 30 grand startup cost.
No, I'm not even close to that.
Including like staff time training.
I wouldn't say that. It of course, it depends on what you're doing. If you're going to be doing field studies with infrared photography or LiDAR photography or that kind of stuff, and you're buying a $5,000 drone or $10,000 drone, yeah, it could add up real quick. But you can get away with buying a $1,000, $1,500 drone with extras and that kind of parts, maybe $2,000, and then get your license, which you can get for free. You don't have to spend the $300. But it doesn't have to be the $30,000. Again, depending on what you're going to be doing with it. But yeah, $30,000 is a little much. Yeah, it's. I would talk to Nick to see what he's put into it. But he goes out and flies for other conservation districts and flies for, I think he does flights for the PMC. He'll fly the PMC every few months so they can actually see what's growing, what's not, and they have a track record of everything because it's the same flight pattern every single time. He literally goes out there, loads that same flight pattern. It goes up, it flies, it comes back, and he unloads all the data. Okay. No more. If you want to talk drones, talk to me afterwards. Okay. Going down the rabbit hole. So insights, this is what we probably will use for our dashboard if we do use it. This is working with massive amounts of data and crunching them. And it's a graphical interface that will allow you to do that kind of stuff. If you have, I think it was 60,000 points with data and over years, this will help you organize all that and analyze it all. We have to pay for this. This is $500 last time I checked. I think they just haven't removed our license. So we may be able to get away with not paying for a little bit, but if we start using it a lot, yeah, we should pay for it. But it's not an easy plug and play. This is for data junkies. Essentially, if you like doing data, this is for you. Because it doesn't just do data. It has geo-referencing for everything, and it's very, very powerful. I don't get to play with it very often. Living Atlas. This is something most people don't realize is ArcGIS Online has the Living Atlas and people publish to it. And there is massive amounts of data out there. Most counties, a lot of cities just publish their data. NRCS, there's soils up there. Actually, ESRI publishes the NRCS soils up there. So you can drag them off the internet and you don't have to store them on your ArcGIS Online account. And there is tons of data out there that you would probably go, why the hell is this up here? But someone needed it and they're publishing it for everyone to see. NAPE aerial photography up there. You can just stream it live wherever you're at. You can also stream Google images, like Google satellite photos. If you go in our ArcGIS Online account, last time I did it a few months ago, so hopefully it still works. I've created a layer in our AGOL org that has the Google imagery. So you just bring that layer in and it shows you the latest Google imagery, not just NAPE, but Google's. Whatever is on Google, the latest Google Maps is on that imagery. And then wildfire stuff, base maps, habitat, there's tons of stuff up there. So if you're like, oh, where do I get this data? The first thing I could do is go up into the search bar up at the top of my AGOL account and search out that data. It's like, what county? Wetlands in Clallam County. Then I will, usually you have to uncheck outside the organization. So you're actually searching outside the organization, but you find things out there. Is it everything out there? No, but you do find a lot of stuff. And since it's out there, it's free to use. Not always in the format you want or the symbology you want, but it's out there. Every time I set up an account for one of our users, I also set up an account under my ESRI. Why they haven't linked them together, I don't know. But yeah, you can go into my ESRI and go into the training catalogs. If you want to learn something, there's tons of training in there, video, there's actual courses that you have to download some layers and stuff and go through. I think I've taken one of these over the years, but that's because I know most of this stuff. But you can there's a whole, I think 13 classes that I put together that you can learn ArcGIS Pro on and learn GIS and learn basic stuff and migrating from ArcGIS Pro to ArcMap. It's on there. Just be aware, some of them are paid for, but we have a maintenance contract. So anything that's free, you can filter free and it only shows you what's free. The ones that you have to pay for are more in depth and that kind of, they teach you a lot more in-depth stuff, but most of the time people don't use them unless it's very specific. The free ones are great. And just go in there and like these right here, getting started with ArcGIS Pro, getting started with military aspects of terrain templates, getting started with ArcGIS Pro, and there's multiple versions of the same thing. It will help you. If you have a question, if you want to do some training, go to my ESRI. And then get back to me on how it went. I always ask this, nobody ever does. But yeah, there's lots of training up there for everyone. Okay, any questions? We have 2 minutes. No, nothing. Nothing at all? Really? What are the, yeah.
Well, you just with all this stuff online, so there's like story map and yep, the
Survey 1, 2, 3. Yep.
Exactly. Can you initially use it for free, but then you have to start paying for it? Or?
No, well, yes, no. So this is all income. Everything you pay for, it will be through our organization, our org, our ESRI org, right? And if you start collecting data, then you will end up having to pay. If you have a lot of data at the end of the year, then you will pay. You will be charged through us. Whatcom Conservation District will send your district a invoice saying this is how much you owe. In the grand scheme of things, it's not very expensive for what you're getting. And some of the, like ours, we've got a ton of data on it. All in my account, obviously. But we got a ton of data and we're only spending $700 a year. It's not that expensive. The bigger districts that have a lot more are the districts that threw up all their VSP data because their counties don't have the parcels. They don't have the wetlands. They don't have so they threw them all up there and that's where they house them. So that when they're out in the field, they can actually get all that data. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I've shut down anything that you can do buying stuff on ESRI for all your accounts. You can't do that. Yeah.
So a bit of a different question on storage, not on ArcGIS Online. Have you had issues with anybody who has had to migrate to cloud-based servers? Like we're on Office 365, forced to move everything on 365. Have you had issues with functionality of Arc Pro cloud-based servers?
Yeah, don't put GIS data on SharePoint. Period. It does not work well, especially with ArcMap. And you will get people that said, Snohomish, their IT person put all their GIS data up on SharePoint. And it would take 10 minutes to open an ArcMap because how GIS works, it now needs to download that 40 gigabyte aerial photo, download it, put it on your machine to run it.
Our IT also just moved us to OneDrive, and they included the GIS folders on OneDrive, which automatically backs up in real time. And every time I try to zoom in, it changes the map extent, which changes.
Okay.
Which
I'm
tries
not the only
to,
person having
which
this
tries to
problem.
say,
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
What are some solutions?
so don't.
On-site server for GIS. That's the solution. And it's not expensive. You think, oh my God, it's good.
My problem is I
Like-
don't own my office.
Well, no, it's a small, you can buy a Diskstation, a two disc Diskstation, so it's back, those are redundant, so if one fails, $700. And that includes the Diskstation and the 2 hard drives. And it's network, that is essentially a server. And I would spend a little bit more than $700 for a little bit more space on the hard drives. But yeah, Nick's I think cost him under $2,000, I think. Mine cost, we just bought it. I haven't installed it yet. I'm gonna have 70 terabytes worth of data. And it's replacing our Windows server. That costs like 12 grand when we got it. This is gonna replace it for the data storage at least, and it cost us, I think, 2,400, no, 5 grand in all. Because I had to buy something that fit in our rack versus something that sits on a table. So it's depending on what you want. And I also bought 8 20 terabyte hard drives. So, or something like that. I bought a ton of really expensive hard drives. That's why the cost is so much. But you can buy a small Diskstation. It's essentially a small external hard drive in a sense. You plug it in your network and everyone can get to it. That's how I've set up other districts. They leave all their GIS data there, which means you have to be in the office to actually do it. Which is like, oh, I'm not in the office much. Then you take an old computer, you put it on your desk, and it's called a headless unit. And you remote desktop into that. I think you guys are doing that. Yeah. You remote desktop into that. And so is Cynthia. And then you do your GIS on that if you really need to do it. Otherwise, you schedule yourself. I'm going to do GIS when I'm in the office, and it works. That's how we got around it. And yeah, do not put GIS data. Don't even put ArcMap projects on SharePoint. We've had issues just last week. We've had issues with that. It corrupted it because it's always backing it up and syncing it and all that kind of stuff. And it's not a good idea.
So yeah, just say your GIS.
Oh yeah. Always, every map you make, export a PDF. At the end of it, put an underscore and the date in an 8-digit. So 2023 2023 0, what is the date today? 613. And that means if you keep doing that, they'll always sort the exact same in alphabetical order or numerical order. Always export your PDFs, always, because in 4 or 5 years, when you want to open that ArcMap project or ArcGIS Pro project, some of that data may be gone. And then what do? You don't have an actual copy of that or a corrupted file or whatever. Always export your PDFs. And I've also put down in the lower left of my thing in very, very, very small font where the location of that file is. And that's just dynamic text. So wherever that project was saved, it's going to say out on it. And if you want some of that, I think it's on your templates. Have I put on your templates? Oh, well, then I build some templates and put that dynamic text down there, and then you'll always know where that file is. Okay. Get out of here. We got another class in 5 minutes.
We're not on the CD thing. Is the enterprise going to be worth staying, or can we return to timber?
If
My CD's not on your enterprise, on the CD group.
this is about Pierce Conservation District. They're moving all their data, GIS data, to ArcGIS Online kind of server.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to be doing that, it's a toss up, probably not. And you can always come back and
Well, I was gonna come back. to
record it.
the farming.
Any dire questions that need to be answered.
I guess I do have one that's been
What's that?
just happening to me a lot for some reason. When I convert KML files to layers, it sometimes just disappears on me after using it for a while. It just like it's there when I turn on the layer, and then when I
Mhm.
start like rechecking it again, it just disappears.
Is it
sometimes.
after you close the project and open it
It's after
again?
I close the project, yeah.
It might be going into a temporary file geodatabase. Make sure you save, it's essentially when you build it, it's in your system. I don't know if it'll be the same on other systems, but it sounds like it's going into a temporary file instead of an actual file geodatabase. So make sure you're saving it in the right file geodatabase in the right area, and then go in and catalog and actually check that. And are you doing in Pro or Pro? Okay. Just double check that if you're really concerned about it.
Okay.
When it actually creates, like, go into that folder and say, okay, is there anything in that folder? Is it only still 0 kilobytes or something like that?
Okay.
Yeah, there's multiple ways of checking it, but check it before you close down that project.
Make sure it's actually saved.
Or just do a complete save again, save as somewhere else.
Okay.
Like clean it up, because it usually comes in with stuff you don't really need with the KML. Save it into a different file geodatabase.
Okay.
Not really. I've mostly worked with ArcMap, and I think we're gonna be switching over to ArcPro, so I just want.
Have fun with that.
Yeah.
I will say after using Pro for many years, it is so much better after you get used to it. After you get used to it.
Yeah, they just changed all of our, we just got updated emails and moved over to Office 365, and we're gonna probably move to Pro. And
Yep.
so it's just.
Doing it as a gradual thing and setting up templates for everyone to use. That's how I'm doing in our district, but then there's some I just still haven't had time to teach our prep people how
Right.
to use Pro, and they're still using ArcMap, which
That's
is fine.
The other thing is we're pretty small, and we don't have a designated GIS person, but I
Ah.
just have a GIS background.
You just start using it,
So-
and that's the best thing, is just forcing yourself to do it, because I put it off and I put it off, and I'm like, okay, I just need to learn how to do it. And
Well,
I
I
do.
mean, I know how to use ArcMap, and it's.
Yeah, it
Sufficient at it, I'm sure.
pick a project that you know you're going to be doing a lot of GIS on, and force yourself to do it in Pro, so you will learn. And there's a bunch of tutorials on my ESRI
Yeah.
that will allow you to take some training
Yeah.
for free on that stuff. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's just.
I have yet to take one of those classes
Yeah,
because,
it's pretty
yeah,
good. They've got cost share for training, I think.
Mhm.
But our county's supposed to be providing this training too. And
Mm.
their new GIS people are unsure of what their role and this actually are, but we pay them for GIS.
Ah.
It's in the contract that they should provide us training,
You pay them for GIS?
because we pay them for the service and service. It was
Ah,
all
okay.
under their server, but now
Mm.
it's, they're changing.
Okay. So do you get ArcGIS Online accounts with them, or are you with us?
No, we don't have AGO accounts.
And so you have it with the county?
Question. I've
Okay.
been in my position since December, and I've been
Ah,
asking these questions, and I've been getting, we don't really know,
Okay,
because the county GIS people are also new, and they don't really know what the agreement is.
okay. So I might as well go over it now. Who has an ArcGIS Online account in this room?
I have had one previously. so-
Obviously I do. So to use Pro, you need an ArcGIS Online account.
Yeah,
It's called a named account. You need that to be able to log into Pro. You can get that through me. It's a statewide setup we have. So it's all through, we set it up 2014 or something like that. And then more districts have gotten on it. And we're now, because the commission won't pay for it anymore, for the last 2 years, we're splitting up the cost between districts. A big matrix of stuff to be able to split it up. Each account only costs, I think it was $11 or $12 a year. It's the data storage. that will run you a bunch of money. But an ArcGIS Online account, $12 a year, it's very, very cheap. Comparatively, if you wanted to get one for your district, just ArcGIS Online org for your district, it's $2,400 a year. And it's through a government account, because the USDA had an agreement with ESRI and NRCS, FSA, and I think one other agency under the USDA gets.
Uses it a lot.
Yep, and they all get it at once, and we were written as conservation districts into that agreement. Thank God, because we don't have enough money to actually buy this kind of stuff and keep it going. And we get all the extensions. Well, not all of them, most of them, all the good ones, spatial analyst and 3D analyst and that kind of stuff.